This region around the Great Lakes has been called the heartland. When it comes to agriculture, there's hardly an area in the world that compares.
Everybody, just hold on. I don't know what we're going to have here.
That's what brings the viewers back. That a boy.
Manage money, piling in.
Double digits higher.
So at this point, we're in kind of uncharted territory.
There's a lot of money on the sidelines.
So that was a crazy one.
Good morning, everybody. It's Monday, August 11th, and this is the AgYield War Room. I'm Dan Dempsey, and I'll be moderating today's session. As always, if you get any questions or comments, please feel free to drop us a line in the chat area. I'll be sure to get to it during the show. Overnight markets here at September corn up 1 3/4 at 384.5. September soybeans were up 17 1/4 at 985, and September Chicago wheat was up 3/4 at 515 1/4. Excuse me. No export sales announcements here this morning, so we'll jump right in. I think the big news overnight, early this morning, President Trump sharing a Truth Social regarding soybeans and potential purchases from China. Got the market certainly on fire. We were actually about 27 or 28 higher in November beans before settling 16 or so higher here this morning. So I know we'll talk about that. We've got still a warm 2-week forecast here as we look out forward. And also the USDA report tomorrow, 11 o'clock Central. So with that, Justin, I guess, waking up this morning, seeing the truth posted certainly has got everybody talking. Whether or not you can have China quadruple their bean orders would be up for debate, but I guess at least some rhetoric there to get us started for the week. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the funds have been aggressive sellers last week. Obviously, we think there's some old crop, certainly corn, probably some soybeans moving here, just kind of making room for new crop. We had good rains in some areas, probably too much. I think there's 14 inches in some places, like in Wisconsin. Yeah. Since I was in Wisconsin, I was aware of it. Rained all freaking weekend. But, they could probably quadruple their purchases from what they have on the books this year, which is basically zero. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the market was it's kind of ripe for any kind of short covering rally, for sure. So I think obviously we'll see what happens there. I mean, just because he tweets it, doesn't really mean anything. Obviously we're waiting on a China trade deal just to see good or bad what it is. And obviously 25% of our demand is China, exports to China of total demand for beans. So not surprising to have that kind of a rally, especially we got going into a port. I mean, who's going to sell a big break here? If any positive news comes out, I don't know that no one's excited about these prices. Whether it's, $9.50 or $10.50 isn't really exciting for anybody, to be honest. So
yeah, it's a good point. And it seems like everything you read, kind of a foregone conclusion that you're going to get a yield bump in corn and beans here tomorrow. As we know, reports can be reports, but I guess, are you kind of in line with seeing a marginal increase there? Yeah,
I mean, the surprise would be if we don't get a bump in yields. Yeah. So I would say that, the average guess is, I think, 184-ish for corn. I don't think anybody has a clue on beans. I will say, we'll see here how August finishes up. I mean, there's areas that now have enough rain to finish off their bean crop for sure after these rains came through. And there's some areas that if we don't rain, we could probably still ding the beans pretty good. Some of these drier areas that keep missing out. So yeah, beans are a wild card. I still think corn's a wild card. I still see plenty of areas where corn's denting kind of early, some tip back, still a lot of good crops out there, but I think that's going to be the interesting point here is, on 95 million acres, we've talked about this a lot. 95 million acres is a lot of acres, and a lot of little problems can add up. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how we can possibly get a 185 or higher yield possible, but I'm not convinced yet. So.
Sure. Dustin, what's on your mind to start the week?
Yeah, I mean, when we have like, big moves from True Social post, it's hard to know like what's coming next. Well, I think one thing that was a concern was that all these energy deals that kept being announced is that maybe this time's different. That's not ag's not going to be such a focus, and just to see him come out and outright tackle that issue is, I think, probably rightfully so that we're up overnight. We're coming up against this August 12th, trade extension deadline. There's some confusion. Does that mean that he wants that to be part of this extension? So I think it's interesting because when we have non-free market things like a phase one trade deal that are potentially on the line, anything goes. If nothing gets done, I think that just makes the higher chance that there is some sort of MFP3 payment if there is a trade war with China, right? Because it couldn't get done. So from that balance, I think, I'm trying to just assume that there is no trade deal and things are bearish potentially because of the good weather, as Justin mentioned. But, lean on those things that we know to be true, right? We have much higher farm bill coverages. We have a lot of our clients have very strong insurance policies this year because of the subsidies, and lean on those. But also don't assume that there can't be something done with China. It's very possible. I think the market's taking his word seriously and see where it goes from here.
I think it's crazy too. I mean, you got all this stuff now starting out this morning, and then you're going to have, it still appears that Trump and Putin are going to meet in Alaska on Friday. So there's just a lot of, it's going to be a headline driven week. It feels like for a lot of things.
Well, and also, I saw another headline that Russia and Brazil talking about strengthening their, BRICS,
wow.
currencies, and because of tariffs and stuff. So there's a lot of mixed news out there for sure. But, to Dustin's point, I mean, we're down in these levels where, we're kind of cheering for a break to buy. So I think the market's going to find a balance here pretty quick, if it's not already, on supply and demand. I think we're getting to those prices where we're doing a lot of demand. We've factored in big supply. Obviously, if we come out with end up with a 185 or 188 or 190 yield, like prices probably go lower. But at least we're seeing some positive, in my opinion, seeing some positive things here that we might start stabilizing prices not too far from here. So,
Ben, what do you got for us?
A lot of the narrative around headlines and Trump, you start to wonder if he's forgot about ag. And I'm just encouraged that he brought it up. I hope that there's positive resolution to it. But you wait forever and all you hear about is Ukraine and Russia and the Middle East and tech chips and rare earth minerals. So it was good to finally hear some concern that had grains in it. So hopefully that has a positive outcome. That could be really supportive of our markets. Crush margins are good. So we'll see how it shakes out. But I thought it was odd that it came out on a Sunday after the markets had opened. You look away for a minute and beans are up 10, and you look away for another 20 minutes and they're up 20, and it's an odd time to put it out there. Day before a report, a lot of new shorts got established in soybeans last week. So I wouldn't read too much into it until we see something concrete. I think, to Justin's point, a lower market would actually be better over the next little bit. So we'll see how it shakes out.
Very good. Moving over to livestock here quickly. Ryland, looks like expanded limits today, 1375 in the feeders and 1075 in live cattle. So we're getting, it's getting pretty interesting, super volatile. Obviously, as you get record highs, setting record highs almost every day. Pretty quiet relatively in the hogs to end last week. So what do you got for us to start us off this week?
Yeah, it was a wild ride in cattle on Friday here. So just with the feeders closing limit down, that's going to expand the limits in both places. So, I mean, where do we go from here? I mean, I think there's just a lot of chatter of, topping kind of price action over the weekend, just with Thursday's high being a record high. And we did actually see some liquidation, from the managed money crowd last week. It wasn't to a large degree, just because they're still holding some massive positions, but they took off nearly 3,000 contracts in the cattle and in the feeders. They actually added in the feeders. So I'd be at cash trade was disappointing at 380 for dress, and I think that's kind of what sent it a bit lower, like 3 to 4 lower from last week. So I think that's where the focus is really going to be. Naturally, you get some follow through, I think, on this kind of price action, but as my dad used to say, you fade the expanded limit. So we'll see if that does come to fruition. We pretty much are still up for the week, though, even with that kind of move, and we haven't even touched the 20-day moving average support. So there's still a lot to kind of prove here, but naturally you're going to get these kind of washouts when you're at record high prices. It's just, I think it's going to happen, especially with the trade being so one-sided. Mixed beef market just starting to see the cracks in cash. So we'll see. Market's kind of baked in quite a bit of a down here, but would not be surprised to see kind of a wild ride today as well. And the hog side of things, there just really isn't that much here. I think everybody's kind of weighing the seasonal pressure in carcass that we were expecting, kind of versus another down in cash on Friday. So I think maybe the potential for a trade deal or some of the news could give us a little bit of support. I mean, Commitment to Traders still shows managed money still adding to their position at 109,000 contracts. So that's still pretty hefty here, and it's pretty. All eyes are still going to fall on carcass for right now for direction.
Very good. Appreciate the update there, Ryland. A couple things to note. We're going to get crop conditions at 3 o'clock Central here this afternoon, so we'll take a look there. And then also, as previously mentioned, we're going to have the report out tomorrow, 11 o'clock Central, so we'll have our thoughts and comments certainly after we see those numbers as well. We appreciate everybody that tunes in on a daily basis. If you wouldn't mind, throw us a like and certainly subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything to do so, and it'll keep you up to speed on everything that's going on with AgYield. So again, thanks to everybody that supports us on a daily basis. We're doing this live every day. The markets are open on X, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live at 8:15 Central Time. Appreciate the thoughts and comments here this morning, guys. It was a good show. Hope everybody has a good start to the week, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
The War Room is proudly presented by AgYield. For over 50 years, the AgYield team has provided grain marketing and risk management solutions for growers across the country. Our veteran consultants harness cutting-edge technologies to pinpoint risk, optimize market performance, and protect your farm's profitability. Discover a new approach to farm revenue management at agyield.com.
Hey guys, Jack here. Be sure to support the show by hitting the like button, leaving us a comment, and subscribing to the channel for all the latest updates. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.